You lie down and your mind starts running. You fall asleep and wake up at 2 a.m. with no explanation. You sleep 8 hours and wake up exhausted. You've tried the melatonin, maybe you've tried the prescription, maybe you've resigned yourself to the idea that this is simply what sleep looks like after 60. What if the most powerful thing you could do for your sleep tonight costs less than $2 and is already somewhere in your kitchen? Not a pill, not a supplement program, not a device, a drink, a specific evening drink or combination of drinks that works on the 3 primary biological mechanisms driving poor sleep in older adults. The ones nobody told you about. The ones that explain why the melatonin you've been taking hasn't fully worked. The ones that, addressed correctly, can transform the quality of sleep you experience starting tonight. I'm going to give you the complete picture. The science, the preparation, the timing, everything. 5 drinks address these 3 mechanisms collectively and specifically. Drink number 1, the melatonin restorer, tart cherry juice. This is the drink I recommend most urgently and most consistently for older adults with sleep difficulties, and the science behind it is extensive enough to justify that recommendation completely. Tart Montmorency cherries are one of the only foods on earth with a meaningful natural concentration of melatonin, the hormone that signals the brain and body that darkness has arrived and sleep should begin. But tart cherries do something synthetic. Melatonin supplements cannot. They deliver melatonin in a food matrix alongside tryptophan, the amino acid precursor to melatonin production, and anthocyanins that independently reduce the neuroinflammation impairing sleep quality. The reason synthetic melatonin often underperforms, particularly at the doses commonly sold in supplement form, is that the timing, dose, and form of exogenous melatonin require careful calibration for each individual. Many adults over 60 take 5 to 10 milligrams of synthetic melatonin, doses that can actually overshoot the physiological range and produce a rebound alertness effect. The natural melatonin in tart cherry juice is delivered at concentrations more compatible with physiological range and supported by the tryptophan that sustains endogenous production. A landmark study from Louisiana State University found that adults who drank tart cherry juice twice daily, 8 ounces in the morning and 8 ounces in the evening, increased their total sleep time by an average of 84 minutes per night and showed significant improvements in sleep efficiency compared to placebo. In adults over 65 specifically, the effect was more pronounced than in younger participants. A second study, published in the European Journal of Nutrition, found that tart cherry juice consumption significantly increased urinary melatonin metabolites, confirming the melatonin delivery mechanism, and improved overall sleep quality scores by 40% in a cohort of older adults with insomnia. The preparation: 8 ounces of unsweetened, 100% Montmorency tart cherry juice. Not sweetened cherry cocktail, not cherry-flavoured beverage. Consumed 30 to 60 minutes before bed. If the tartness is challenging, dilute with an equal amount of water. Frozen and thawed. Montmorency cherries blended with a small amount of water are an equivalent alternative. Dried tart cherries, one with no added sugar, contain less melatonin per serving but contribute meaningfully. Avoid adding sugar. The glycemic spike from added sugar will partially counteract the sleep benefit by elevating blood glucose and cortisol at bedtime. This one drink consistently every night, 84 additional minutes of sleep, for less than $1.50 per serving. Drink number 2, the GABA activator, warm whole milk or golden milk with nutmeg. The warm milk before bed recommendation has been dismissed by modern wellness culture as folk remedy nostalgia. The research on it is more substantial than the dismissal implies, and the enhanced version I'm about to describe is significantly more effective than plain warm milk alone. Milk contains two compounds specifically relevant to sleep. The first is tryptophan, the amino acid precursor to both serotonin and melatonin. In the evening, when circulating large neutral amino acids are at lower levels relative to tryptophan, the tryptophan to competing amino acid ratio increases, and tryptophan crosses the blood-brain barrier more effectively, increasing serotonin and melatonin synthesis in the brain. The second is casein-derived bioactive peptides, specific protein fragments released during the digestion of casein, milk's primary protein, that have direct GABA modulating activity. These peptides act on GABA receptors in the brain in a manner that promotes neural quieting and reduces the sleep-onset anxiety that keeps many older adults awake in the first 30 to 45 minutes after lying down. A study published in the European Journal of Nutrition found that specific casein-derived peptides, particularly alpha-casozepine, reduced anxiety and improved sleep quality in adults with stress-related insomnia, with the mechanism confirmed as GABA receptor modulation. Now the enhancement. Adding nutmeg, 1/4 teaspoon of freshly grated or ground nutmeg, to warm milk transforms it into one of the most sleep-specific evening preparations available. Nutmeg contains myristicin and elemicin, compounds that act on the monoamine oxidase system and the GABA system simultaneously, producing mild sedative and anxiolytic effects that have been used in traditional medicine across South Asia, the Middle East, and Africa for centuries. A study from Sahlgrenska University Hospital found that nutmeg extract significantly improved sleep duration and quality in adults with insomnia, with the researchers identifying the GABA modulating mechanism as the primary driver of the effect. Golden milk, warm whole milk with turmeric, black pepper and nutmeg, adds the anti-inflammatory benefit of curcumin and piperine, which address the neuroinflammation component of sleep disruption. Preparation. Warm 8 ounces of whole milk gently, do not boil. Add 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric, a small pinch of black pepper. Optional, a very small amount of raw honey for sweetness. Drink 30 to 45 minutes before bed. So drink number 3. The cortisol calmer, ashwagandha and chamomile tea. This drink addresses the most underappreciated driver of sleep disruption in adults over 60, elevated evening cortisol. Cortisol follows a circadian rhythm. It should be at its highest in the early morning, declining throughout the day to reach its lowest point at bedtime. In many older adults, particularly those with chronic stress, blood sugar dysregulation or HPA axis dysfunction, cortisol fails to reach its nadir by bedtime. The nervous system remains in a low-grade activation state. Sleep onset is delayed, deep sleep is suppressed. Early morning waking, the 3 or 4 a.m. awakening with no return to sleep, is one of the most consistent signatures of elevated nocturnal cortisol. Chamomile contains apigenin, a flavonoid that binds to benzodiazepine receptors in the brain, not with the same potency as pharmaceutical benzodiazepines, and without their dangerous side effects, cognitive impairment and dependency risk, but with a documented specific anxiolytic and sleep-promoting effect that reduces sleep onset time and improves sleep continuity. A randomized controlled trial from the BMC Complementary and Alternative Medicine Journal found that chamomile extract significantly improved sleep quality in adults over 60 with chronic insomnia, with the apigenin benzodiazepine receptor mechanism confirmed as the primary driver. Ashwagandha, specifically the water-soluble extract called KSM66, is an adaptogenic compound with among the strongest evidence of any botanical for HPA axis regulation and cortisol reduction. Adaptogens reduce the excessive cortisol output of a chronically activated stress system, bringing evening cortisol closer to its appropriate nadir. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Medicine found that ashwagandha root extract significantly improved total sleep time, sleep quality, sleep onset latency, and morning alertness in adults with insomnia, with improvements most pronounced in those with highest baseline stress and cortisol levels. Preparation: brew 2 teaspoons of dried chamomile flowers in 12 ounces of boiling water for 8 to 10 minutes. Add half a teaspoon of ashwagandha root powder, widely available at health food stores, and stir until dissolved. The ashwagandha has a mild, earthy taste that blends well with chamomile, a small amount of raw honey for palatability. Drink 1 hour before bed. Note: ashwagandha should not be taken by pregnant women or those with thyroid conditions without physician guidance. As with all additions to your routine, consult your physician if you have existing health conditions. Drink number 4. The magnesium sleep potion, magnesium glycinate in warm water or herbal tea. I've described magnesium's role in energy and muscle function in previous videos. Tonight, I want to give you its specific and extraordinary role in sleep, because magnesium deficiency is one of the most direct and most reversible causes of poor sleep in adults over 60. Magnesium is an essential cofactor for over 300 enzymatic reactions, including several specifically involved in sleep. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system that counteracts the sympathetic fight or flight activation that keeps people awake. It binds to GABA receptors in the brain, enhancing GABA's inhibitory effect on neural activity and promoting the neural quieting necessary for sleep onset and deep sleep maintenance. And it blocks NMDA receptors, glutamate receptors that, when overactive, produce the neural excitability associated with sleep onset racing thoughts. The convergence of these 3 mechanisms makes magnesium the closest thing to a natural sleep aid, with a coherent, multi-target biological rationale. An estimated 45 to 60% of adults over 60 have inadequate magnesium status, reduced by poor dietary intake, reduced gut absorption, diuretic use, and chronic stress-driven magnesium excretion. And standard serum magnesium tests catch only the most severe deficiency because they measure the 1% of body magnesium in blood rather than the 99% in cells and bone. A study from the Journal of Research in Medical Sciences found that magnesium supplementation in older adults with insomnia significantly improved sleep time, sleep efficiency, sleep onset latency, and early morning waking, with the effect most pronounced in those with documented deficiency. A second study from the Nutrients Journal found that a combination of magnesium, melatonin, and zinc, taken in the evening, produced significantly better sleep outcomes than any single compound alone, with the magnesium component identified as the primary driver of improved slow-wave sleep specifically. The preparation: dissolve 200 to 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate powder in 4 ounces of warm water or chamomile tea, making it the liquid addition to drink number 3 for a combined cortisol-calming, GABA-activating, sleep-deepening evening drink. Magnesium glycinate is the form with highest bioavailability and lowest gastrointestinal side effects, unlike magnesium oxide, which is cheaper but poorly absorbed and commonly causes loose stools. Drink this 45 to 60 minutes before bed. The magnesium acts over 1 to 2 hours. The timing allows its peak central nervous system effect to coincide with your intended sleep onset. Drink number 5, the Sleep Sanctuary Ritual, the complete bedtime blend. The 5th drink is not a new ingredient. It is the synthesis, the sequence and combination of the previous 4, assembled into a complete bedtime ritual that addresses all 3 sleep-disrupting mechanisms in the optimal order. Here is why sequence matters. Tart cherry juice consumed first, 90 minutes before bed, begins elevating circulating melatonin and tryptophan early enough to support the initial melatonin signal that triggers sleep pressure. Chamomile and ashwagandha tea, consumed 60 minutes before bed, addresses the cortisol and GABA mechanisms during the wind-down period. Golden milk with magnesium glycinate, consumed 30 to 45 minutes before bed, delivers the GABA modulating casein peptides and the deep sleep-supporting magnesium at the timing that maximizes their neurological effect during the first sleep cycle. This 3-drink sequence can be simplified for practical daily use. If 3 separate drinks feels like too much, a combined version works. Brew chamomile tea, add half a teaspoon of ashwagandha, 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, a splash of warm whole milk, and dissolve 200 milligrams of magnesium glycinate. Drink this alongside 4 ounces of tart cherry juice, either mixed in or consumed immediately beforehand. Beyond the drinks themselves, the ritual of preparation, the deliberate, calm, 30-minute wind-down that involves warming the milk, steeping the chamomile, measuring the magnesium, is itself a sleep-onset cue. The brain learns to associate this sensory sequence with approaching sleep. The parasympathetic activation that is the neurological prerequisite for sleep onset begins before the first sip. Conditioned response built over weeks of consistent practice becomes one of the most powerful natural sleep aids available. A study from Harvard Medical School on behavioral sleep interventions found that consistent pre-bed ritual behaviors, independent of any pharmacological component, reduced sleep onset latency by an average of 12 minutes and improved sleep quality scores significantly compared to no consistent wind-down practice. Add the specific bioactive compounds from the drinks above, and the combined effect is both behavioral and biochemical. Here is the complete, practical sequence assembled into a clear, nightly routine. 90 minutes before bed, 8 ounces of unsweetened Montmorency, tart cherry juice, straight or diluted 50% with water. This initiates the melatonin and tryptophan elevation that supports natural sleep onset. 60 minutes before bed, chamomile tea brewed from 2 teaspoons of dried chamomile flowers, steeped for 8 to 10 minutes. Add half a teaspoon of ashwagandha root powder and a small amount of raw honey. This targets evening cortisol and activates the apigenin benzodiazepine receptor pathway for anxiolytic sleep preparation. 30 to 45 minutes before bed, 8 ounces of warm whole milk or fortified unsweetened oat milk as a dairy-free alternative, with 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric, a pinch of black pepper, and 200 milligrams of magnesium glycinate powder dissolved into it. This delivers the GABA modulating casein peptides, the nutmeg sedative compounds, and the magnesium that deepens slow-wave sleep. Supporting behaviors during this same window, dim the lights. Bright light suppresses melatonin production and partially offsets everything the drinks are building. Keep the room temperature between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. The core body temperature drop that initiates sleep is supported by a cool environment. And do not check your phone after beginning the ritual. Blue light exposure in this window measurably delays melatonin onset. Consistency matters more than perfection. 3 nights of the complete protocol produces more benefit than a single perfect night, followed by irregular practice. the circadian entrainment, the biological clock alignment that underlies all sleep quality improvement, builds over 2 to 4 weeks of consistent application. I want to close with something I feel strongly about. The sleep you are not getting is not a minor inconvenience to manage with earplugs and eye masks. Sleep is the biological foundation of your cognitive function, your cardiovascular health, your immune system, your metabolic regulation, your emotional resilience, and your physical recovery. Everything I've described across this entire video series, the brain foods, the kidney protection, the blood sugar management, the muscle maintenance, all of it is built on a foundation that collapses without adequate restorative sleep. You deserve that sleep, and the biology of sleep after 60, while genuinely changed, is not beyond reach. It responds to the right inputs. The drinks in this video are those inputs, prepared from ingredients that have been supporting human sleep since before pharmaceutical companies existed. Start with the tart cherry juice tonight. Add the chamomile tomorrow. Build the magnesium in by the end of the week. Give it 2 to 3 weeks of consistency, and then honestly assess how your mornings feel. If this video gave you something genuinely useful, a drink to prepare, a mechanism you finally understand, a routine you're going to try, please consider subscribing. Every week I bring you this same quality of honest, specific, evidence-based guidance with nothing to sell and everything to give. Next week I'm going to cover the 5 daytime habits that determine your nighttime sleep quality. Behaviors happening between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. that either build or erode your sleep pressure, your circadian timing, and your melatonin capacity hours before you ever lie down, including one that most older adults do every afternoon that is among the most consistent destroyers of deep sleep in this age group. You will want to catch that one. Until then, steep the chamomile, warm the milk, add the magnesium, and give your brain the quiet, dark, well-nourished environment it has been waiting for. Sleep well. You've earned it.